Hello everyone! Earlier today, Administrator Motor Gorilla published a thread titled Upcoming Bedwars Update, What Do You Want to See? This thread showcases a few ideas that could be coming to Bedwars in the near or far future, or maybe even never to be seen again. As these are the latest news in regards of a potential Bedwars update since the Slumber Hotel release, we've decided to go over the thread and point out the ideas that were put forward. This thread is divided in a few sections, including new gameplay, new items and balancing, and major Slumber Hotel changes. To start off, Motor Gorilla writes, "As always, everything in this thread is subject to change. These are just our ideas, they can be tweaked, revamped, or even removed altogether. This has happened to an average of 1 to 2 features we have talked about on this thread, so we're not kidding. That all being said, we would like to share what we are looking into for this update." Essentially, they're giving us a big guideline of the different section of Bedwars that they would like to work on, but obviously these are just concepts. The community is going to be able to give a lot of feedback, and the development team is going to be able to build onto those. In terms of new gameplay, the thread is divided in subsections, the first being limited time events. As written, these would either last a month or a couple weeks. They would either introduce a temporary new mode or change a part of the game in all modes. We could reintroduce community milestone, like what we did for the Slumber Hotel, but this time it would give limited time XP boost, exclusive cosmetics, and more. For example, as mentioned that they did something similar in the Slumber Hotel, there was a community goal that after a certain amount of people met the Slumber Hotel owner, there would be a boost in ticket gain for the entire network. I feel like something like this would make grinding Bedwars much more interesting, because these limited time boosts like XP or even exclusive cosmetics would show that you played during that time period. In terms of grinding, it would mean that you're able to help the network while still playing the game. Personally, I think the exclusive cosmetic is what's really interesting. For the ones that remember played ranked Skywars, you could get banners depending on position, and I feel like something similar to show that you've helped accomplish the community milestone. Something similar also to the Skyblock community projects, for the ones that are familiar with those, could be a really interesting take for the Bedwars game mode. The second subsection are modifiers. Resembling the one currently available in private games, these modifiers would show up in specific mode and rotate through the week. Modifiers could have the option to be chosen at random at the start of a match, voted for in the pregame lobby, or be set/predetermined for that week. Currently, 11 modifiers are offered when creating a private Bedwars lobby. These are 1 hit 1 kill, health buff, low gravity, speed, no emeralds, event times, respawn time, no diamonds, disable block protection, bed insta-break, and max team upgrades. Undeniably, if Hypixel was to add modifiers, a bunch more could be added, and probably some would even be removed. Having the possibility to play random modifiers would develop a bunch of different strategies from what we know now. Imagine having to face a sweaty team but emeralds are disabled for the entire game, or 1 hit 1 kill being enabled for a whole week. These constantly changing modifiers would create chaos and a lot of fun, while also bringing a bunch of possible scenarios for gameplay and new content possibilities. There would always be a chance that your next Bedwars game has a big twist to it, enhancing the user experience. The last subsection are new dream modes. As mentioned in the thread, new dream modes could be added, although this would more than likely mean removing some of the existing less popular dream modes or reworking how they rotate. New modes we add would more likely be wackier than the ones we have now, changing fundamental parts of the game. This is really interesting because on top of having the classic Bedwars game modes, there will be more possible rotational dream modes. Now, I'm all for new dream modes, but if armed is removed, I am removed. #SaveArmed. In the closing section of the new gameplay, Motor Gorilla mentions that out of these 3 routes above, limited time events, modifiers, and new dream modes, we will likely pick and stick to just one of them for this next update. We have a whole bunch of ideas for what new gameplay could look like, and most of these could fit into one of these 3 routes mentioned above, meaning that let's say the next update is in 3 months, maybe we'll see new dream modes added. And in the next year or so, the 2 other routes could eventually be worked on, but one will be focused on for the next update. Below this section, little ideas are mentioned that can pique the interest of the readers. For example, Bed Royale. which would be a 20 teams of 5-player game mode. Massive map, longer games, and teams will need to catch your point in the middle of the map that earns your team a new ultra rare resource. Essentially, a crazy Bedwars map, similarly to what the Battle Royale game mode was in the prototype lobby, way back pre-COVID, I would say. Might be wrong. Correct me in the comments. I don't quite remember the Battle Royale date. Another game mode would be the Bedwars Kebab, where each player spawns with a stack of bed, and you would need to destroy all of them in order to stop someone from respawning. I'm not sure how this would go. Do you hide your bed? When you get killed, do you lose one? How would that be played? Interesting concept. The one block Bedwars is something very unique, coming from a one block world that was fairly popular on YouTube a few years back, where there's no islands, only beds, and each player gets a random block or items every few seconds. Wacky strategies and clutch moments are guaranteed. So you would have to create your own map with the random items that you receive, which means it would be a really RNG based game mode. Another idea is Perimeter Bedwars, no more middle island. Earn emeralds by destroying beds, rewarding people that are actively being aggressive and not diminishing the possibilities of just camping your islands. There would also be a Bedwars randomizer, I feel like similar to the current Bedwars Lucky Block, but instead of getting random items, the items in the shop could get disabled or the price changes. There could even be some rotational items that come back, and it would change the way Bedwars is played. Because let's say instead of costing for iron for 16 wool, it could cost 20 iron for 16 wool. So it could bring a lot of different strategy to how you play the game, depending on the random items that either gets disabled or the price changes. And then of course there's the classic Bedwars. So in terms of new gameplay, they push a lot of possibilities, but similarly to how mob vote happens in Minecraft, only one of those will be worked in the near future. However, I feel like if the community is vocal enough, these will eventually be seen within the next year or so. The next section is new items and balancing. Although quite small, Mother Gorillas highlights that they would like to introduce new permanent items to Bedwars to encourage players to play the game in ways they never have before. Ideally, they would have a proper usage in the game, be fun to use, and have a high skill cap. What new items would you like to see added to Bedwars? Let us know in the comments below. The final section of this upcoming Bedwars update thread is the major slumber hotel changes. The goal of these changes would be to extend the features in both directions, making it accessible to new player and also extend its content for veteran players. I think this is a really important aspect to point out, since new updates are usually veteran focused. Adding changes that can easily be understood or completed by new players will make them embark in a much more confident and easier way in their Bedwars journey. This section is also divided in 3 subsections: the early game content, the mid-game content, and the late game content. For the early game content, we wanted to act as a hands-off tutorial of sorts, reinforcing good habits and teaching the mechanics of the game. Over time, these early game quests will become more difficult and transition into the quests that currently exist in the hotel. Our hope is that we can make Bedwars a more accessible game that provides guidance for players who wish for it. Meaning that the current hotel would probably be in the mid-game stage, and easier quests, or even just killing players, or building to an island, or even just defending your bed could become these early game content, so that players know how to play the game, and then they can compete against more experienced players. For the mid-game content, it would be to keep the current iteration of the Slumber Hotel. While it would largely stay the same, we will more than likely make some changes to smooth out progression and tie it into the new portions of content. I'm assuming new rooms or new quests would be added to make it fit. In terms of the late game content, the original intent was to act as Bedwars' equivalent to the Angel's Descent from Skywars. For people unfamiliar with the Angel's Descent, it's essentially a big progression tree where you complete quests and you unlock opals, which is the currency to unlock a new section of the tree to then progress much faster through the descent. While there are some renewable quests, these will cease being useful once you have every cosmetic from the ticket machine. So that's a little bit of a downside at the moment. But at this time, they still don't know what shape this new content will take. I'm assuming they'll be able to make a better decision based off the feedback the community gives. It's possible we add even more rooms, more intricate, difficult, and fun than the ones previous. We could also try a more traditional approach with an Angel Descent-esque progression tree. We might also end up doing something entirely different. Time will tell. Ultimately, we want to provide content that won't be completable within only a few days or weeks. And I think that's the biggest point of the current Slumber Hotel, is that people are able to grind the Slumber Hotel within a week, even within a few days that I've seen before. The nice thing with the Angel's Descent is that you need to grind it for weeks or even months if you want to complete it 100%. And the rewards are based accordingly. The few levels at the start of the Angel Descent doesn't give you much reward, and as you progress, they scale up. So I think something like that would make Bedwars much more enjoyable to grind, because you would actually have to work for your rewards rather than just being able to sweat the game for a few days and then complete an entire new update. This thread, posted by Motor Gorilla, is very promising for the future of Bedwars. It showcases possible new gameplay, new items, or even new addition to the current Slumber Hotel. Although the new update is much needed and will be appreciated, hopefully, by the community, what I enjoy the most is the transparency with the community. I've heard plenty of time in the past from users that the staff aren't listening to ideas regarding new updates. In my opinion, this is a step in the right direction. If you have a crazy concept that you would like to see in a future Bedwars update, head over to the thread and let the community know what should be added. The link for it is in the description. Keep in mind though that all the content in this thread is subject to change, and there's a good chance that 90% of them won't be added ever, potentially. What's your favorite aspect of this new potential update? What's your favorite part of this thread? Let us know. Thanks for watching, and have fun grinding.